New report on the future structure of Toronto community housing, which builds upon the work done by the Mayor's task force led by Senator Arthur Eggleton on Toronto Community Housing Corporation. What we heard from the Mayor's task force report is that the status quo is not an option. The current state of TCHC cannot be allowed to continue. The model as it stands is not working and has not been working for some time. I am prepared to see us move forward on a bold but sensible approach which can move us away from the highly centralized model which often seemed disconnected from the real world of TCHC residents. The Tenants First report is a very significant and complex document that is the next step in transforming our social housing entity, and I believe it provides a blueprint for better social housing in Toronto. One of the major recommendations, and the first that this report suggests we should act on, is the creation of a new seniors housing entity responsible for the 83 seniors buildings currently under TCHC. Those buildings, as a matter of interest, house some 27,000 seniors in Toronto at present. As the entire population of our city ages and we look towards how to best serve the needs of that growing seniors population, this plan also looks to the future. This new entity would have a laser-like focus on serving seniors and begin a crucial alignment of all of our services to a rapidly growing seniors population. So it isn't just about housing. It starts there in terms of our very focused responsibility on that within the context of community housing in Toronto, but it also then seeks to bring together the other people who are going to serve seniors as we see that number dramatically increase over the next number of years. It will also allow, at the same time, for TCHC to focus its role as a social housing provider serving the needs of families, young people, and vulnerable tenants. That, too, will be a priority focus for significant improvement, but it will be done now in a way that allows for a cleaner focus on those residents, similar to what it will do by allowing us to have a very clear focus on seniors. The last item I wanted to speak about is the report coming back on the vacant home tax and moving forward with a public consultation. This is the next step in looking at whether or not a vacant home tax would be the right measure for Toronto in terms of trying to address affordability, as was done with a number of measures introduced by the provincial government. In their research done so far, since we asked them to undertake it, our staff have taken a look at Vancouver's vacant home tax and how that is working. Vancouver's model uses a negative option, so in other words, if you don't declare your unit occupied, it is deemed to be vacant. And today I want to be absolutely clear that I do not support that approach. We will ask our staff to find a different approach. There is no silver bullet solution to Toronto's skyrocketing housing prices, and that is why we need to be open to looking at all options, including a vacant homes tax. And this will help us to increase housing supply by getting units back on the market and also help us to ensure that the city remains affordable. I want to address one more thing before I turn it over to Councillor Bailão, and that is just to say how disappointing I found the initial response from government MPPs to very reasonably worded letters recently sent to them concerning Toronto community housing units in jeopardy of closure in their respective ridings. So far, the response has consisted of a boilerplate rehash of past investments from the Minister of Housing, a live version of the same from an otherwise very constructive 416 MPP, and I guess most constructive of all, a description of my letter as juvenile from the MPP with the highest number of units threatened with closure in all of the City of Toronto. I can only assume they talk to each other about these responses and somehow believe them to be considerate and responsible answers that our most vulnerable residents deserve. You will forgive me if I strongly disagree with that, and I can just say that I will continue to fight for Toronto's interests and the interests in particular of those residents living in substandard Toronto community housing units in need of repair and in need of assistance from other governments to make those repairs happen, and I will take these concerns directly to the MPPs involved. Before taking questions on the housing matters under discussion today or other things on your mind, I would now like Councillor Bailão to pick up with some further comments on TCHC and the need for change there. Councillor Bailão.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you. Good morning. So housing is complex, and today's housing is facing challenges at most points of the housing continuum. That's why more than ever it is important to understand that there is not a one-size-fits-all or one solution that will solve housing in our city. At the upcoming executive meeting, we have 3 reports that will add to the work already underway. The short-term rental and the vacancy tax reports, which mainly aim at ensuring that we have all the stock available to be someone's home and to serve as such. The other one is the Tenants First, which I want to focus on, and the transformation on TCHC. I would like to take this opportunity by starting to thanking the tenants that have been involved in these conversations. This has not been a report that has only been done with staff here at City Hall. There's been tenants involved through consultations. There is an advisory group. There's partners such as Social Planning Toronto, the Maytree Foundation, that have been out there and that have been having these conversations with Torontonians, and I would like to take this opportunity to thank them. If we are going to be successful with this report, if we're going to be successful with this transformation, it is imperative that we involve our tenants and our communities, and I think staff have started to do that, and I commend them for that. Since 2013, TCHC and the city have identified and working on the capital plan, a $2.6 billion backlog that needs to continue and for which TCHC and the city have invested $1 billion. However, through this process and through 2013, we've clearly identified 4 pillars that this corporation actually needs to work on. The capital backlog is not only the only issue that TCHC has. We have clearly identified that we have also an operating issue. The Mayor's Task Force has said it. This corporation is not sustainable. If we solve the capital issue, but we not solve the operational issue, you'll be back in the same location a few years from now. And that is why we've started to acknowledge that. That is why last budget process, we have increased the budget for TCHC by 18%. This report calls for a new funding formula that is needed to set the path for a sustainable corporation. The third pillar is redevelopment. TCHC has 7 revitalizations currently underway. Last year, again, through the budget process, we have invested $106 million in Regent Park. We understand, the city understands that in order to revitalize TCHC, to revitalize our communities, the city needs to invest. We have been doing it. We will continue to do it. The report calls on that as well. The fourth pillar, and the one that actually, where this report continues to focus, is actually the programming. The programming, it doesn't work. Residents have been complaining. They want a TCHC that is closer to them. They want a TCHC that understands them, that is accountable to them. And that is why this report, I think, has 3 recommendations that are significant. One, the seniors housing. Many colleagues in this and on the second floor, many tenants, you can go out there, they want to bring back the seniors housing. This is something that existed before amalgamation, and it makes perfect sense when the seniors population is increasing in our city, and when we just launched a senior strategy, we are in the process of redevelopment long-term care homes. It just makes sense that we partner also with the work that is being done provincially through LINS and through the new way of delivering housing for seniors. It just makes sense that we actually have a very focused approach on how to deliver housing for seniors. The other one is actually an REOI for the scattered homes. Back in 2012, we've identified that the more than 800 homes that we have in our city are an important part of social housing portfolio. The REOI for land trusts and co-ops will make that we have a new management model for these homes. And the third one is the decentralization of TCHC. We need to create a corporation that is going to have the tools to our frontline staff deliver the services to our tenants. We need to have that relationship and that accountability from our tenants to our frontline staff at the frontline level, not at 931 Yonge Street like we have today. So those 3 recommendations, I think, can clearly transform TCHC, transform the lives of 110,000 residents, but more than that, transform our communities. Now, I would like to reiterate that these 4 pillars, there's a lot of investment. And I think that, as you can clearly see by the numbers in the city, we've started doing that through the last budget process. It will need to continue to happen through this budget process, but we need our partners at the table. There's 4 pillars here. There's backlog, there's operating, there's revitalization, and there's programming. we're actually only calling on their help for the backlog. We're actually coming and saying, we are transforming TCHC. We just cannot do it alone. We need to revitalize our communities. We need to revitalize the lives of more than 110,000 of our residents. And for that, we need everybody on board. Thank you.